Hello, I'm Dick Walton. The songs we're now hearing are ancient tunes. These and similar vocalizations have been sung by birds for thousands of years. In fact, the earliest North Americans, the Indians, were no doubt familiar with most of these same songs. For the Indian, bird songs and calls probably signified many things: a source of food, a warning that a predator was near, or even the presence of a spirit. Today, people also appreciate birdsong for a variety of reasons. Many enjoy birdsong strictly from an aesthetic point of view. It adds a welcome dimension to a walk in the woods or a jog through the park. For the poet, the time of the singing of birds signifies the passing of winter and the renewal of spring. Naturalists listen to the various songs and calls as keys to the bird's identification and behavior. It is not surprising that in a pastime called bird watching, that most beginners concentrate on learning the visual characteristics of birds. However, we should also learn the basics of birdsong to make and confirm identifications. There are numerous field situations, such as dense woodlands and thickets, poor light, or inaccessible wetlands, where birdsong is the best or only clue to birds present. Also, while our field of vision is limited at any given time to a fraction of our environment, our auditory sense is constantly attuned to 360 degrees. Just as conventional field guides highlight visual characteristics of birds, this audio guide teaches you to recognize distinguishing aspects of bird vocalizations. A repeated phrase, an accelerating rhythm, or a rapid warble can be as valuable in identifying a bird as the color of the speculum, an eye ring, or wing bars. When we learn from a visual field guide, we have a picture to point at. We say, "The bill looks like that," for example, black, decurved, and thin. Birdsong learners need to find a part of the song they can point at and say, "That's what I recognize." And I'll be suggesting various ways of doing this, which will help you to identify songs in the field. Let's take a brief look at some of the methods we'll use to represent birdsong. First, phonetic units. One of the most useful ways to learn a bird's song is to associate the song with recognizable phonetic units. Bird names which represent a characteristic part of the species song are familiar examples of this technique. Thus, the name chickadee can represent this call, chickadee-dee-dee-dee-dee. Pee-wee, this song. And Phoebe, this. The words, or phonetic units, are reminiscent of the song itself. We can expand on this form of representation by creating our own phonetic units that stand for bird songs. Thus, we might write down conqueree to help us remember the song of the red-winged blackbird. Sometimes a series of words can be used to represent the song. The song of the eastern meadowlark is often written as spring of the year, spring of the year. Does this work for you? A common representation of the barred owl's song is, "Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all?" Oftentimes, such a phonetic representation is most helpful in that it calls to mind the rhythmic cadence of the song, if not an exact rendition of the actual sound. For instance, some New Englanders represent the white-throated sparrow song as, "Oh, Sam, peepity, peepity, peepity," while their neighbors north of the border use, "Oh, sweet Canada, Canada, Canada." Obviously, the bird is not saying either one, but they are both equally useful as a handle. Aside from phonetics, another effective way to remember birdsong is to use comparative ideas which call to mind the song. For instance, many birders think the black and white warbler sounds like a squeaky wheelbarrow. Does the rhythm of the field sparrow song sound like a ping-pong ball dropping on a table? Descriptive words can also be helpful. The wood thrush, in fact several of the thrushes, are known for their flute-like songs. Other songs may be described as abrupt, like the Acadian flycatcher, ascending, like the northern parula, or harsh, like the common grackle. Some birders are able to use diagrammatic symbols to help in their learning. Such a system might employ a series of circles to represent a trill, a wavy line a tremolo, or an upward-pointing arrow for an ascending series of notes. Unless you're a trained musician, this may not be the most effective style for you. Most people have difficulty interpreting similar systems found in some field guides. You should take an active part in representing bird songs and not rely solely on the suggestions given in this guide. Each person hears bird songs somewhat differently, so your own representation may work best for you. My suggestions for each species are listed in the accompanying booklet. In addition, there is space for you to write in your ideas and field observations. You'll probably find that a combination of phonetic representation, comparative ideas, descriptive words, and a few symbols will work best. For each birdsong, find a handle that works for you. This will give some meaning to the song and allow you to connect the song and the songster. With a little effort, you will soon have a basic vocabulary of bird vocalizations. The bird songs on this recording are grouped in a way to facilitate learning. Similar sounding songs will normally be found together, so that you will be able to directly compare and contrast the vocalizations. Before going on to our first learning group, let's take time to review some basic facts of bird vocalization. The syrinx is the main sound-producing organ in birds. It differs in several important ways from the larynx, the organ humans use to create sounds. Because of its unique structure, the syrinx is capable of producing more than one sound at a time. This accounts for the complex vocalizations of many species. Vocal displays are one of the primary means by which birds communicate. These displays include both songs and calls. Songs may be described as consistently repeated sounds which form a pattern. Here is the classic song of the American robin. Calls are normally short sounds, lacking a specific pattern. The robin has a variety of typical call notes, and here's a sample. As is true in the case of the robin, songs tend to be more musical than calls. While scientists have identified several distinct types of song, we are concerned with primary song. Primary song is the vocalization robins and other species give on their nesting territory. Song serves a variety of functions. The song advertises the songster by saying, in effect, "Here I am, ladies, an unattached male American robin looking to establish a relationship." Primary song also serves to strengthen and maintain the bond of established pairs. At the same time, the song is a warning to other males of the same species. In this case, the message is, "This territory is already claimed. Stay away." Interestingly, some species have evolved non-vocal song substitutes, which serve the same function as primary song. The drumming of the ruffed grouse is a typical song substitute. Here it is. While we humans may be more in tune with the caroling of the robin, the ruffed grouse's message is clear to all other male and female ruffed grouse in the neighborhood. Calls also serve a variety of functions, usually related to non-sexual maintenance behaviors such as flock contact, predator alert, and feeding. Ultimately, any specific vocalization is defined as a song or a call by the function it serves. Thus, while many songs are relatively complex and musical, others are simple and non-musical. Compare the complex song of the house wren with the simple song of the Acadian flycatcher. First the wren, next the flycatcher. So which birds do the singing? Usually adult males on territory. However, there are exceptions to this general rule. Obviously, many birds sing during migration in areas where they will not breed. Also, the females of several species sing, including rose-breasted grosbeaks, northern cardinals, and song sparrows. Calls are given by both sexes, as well as by immature birds. Both songs and calls can be useful keys to identification. We will refer to both of these forms of vocal display as we proceed through the guide. Also, the term birdsong is used in a non-technical sense, referring to both songs and calls. Just as some people have excellent visual recall, others readily remember and recall sounds. Those gifted with a good auditory memory will have a relatively easy time learning birdsong. Others, perhaps the majority of learners, will need to spend more time to learn the material. One technique that will help to speed up the process is to limit your study to a few of the learning groups at any one time. Most people reach a level of saturation when presented with too many new songs at once. Frequent repetitions will also facilitate learning. There are some obvious differences between learning the songs and calls on the recording and being able to identify bird vocalizations in the field. As a practical matter, it would be impossible to show all the variations of the 85 species covered. Rather, we have included in this guide birdsong samples which are typical. In the field, you will hear individual birds add syllables, drop syllables, and in other ways vary the standard vocalization. By learning the basic pattern, however, you will have a solid footing from which to recognize the variations.